Welcome in to Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Happy to have you with us. Thanks for spending part of your Friday with us. Coming up on today's show, we will get to the latest happenings in the quarterback room, as GM John Schneider has said that he would like to keep Geno Smith and Drew Lock around. We'll lay out John Schneider's offseason plan in just a bit. Also on the show, could Dan Quinn be the next head coach of the Seattle Seahawks? We'll explain in just a little while from right now. Before we get to that, though, folks, we are nearing 34,500 subscribers here on the channel. We are a grand stinking total of 96 subscribers away. But we need your help to get there. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, what on earth are you waiting for? Subscribe to the channel. Make sure your fellow Seahawk friends and fans that they subscribe to the channel as well for the latest happenings on your favorite team. We got news and rumors segments. We're counting down to the draft, free agency, trades, and more. This is the place to be. Live shows every Wednesday as well, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Subscribe now, and we'll get started with the show. Seahawks General Manager John Schneider was on local radio in Seattle within the last several hours and talked about his offseason agenda for the Seahawks in 2023. And one of the things he touched on was the focus of not just taking care of re-signing Geno Smith, but also re-signing Drew Lock as well. Both these quarterbacks would then be expected to be QB1 and QB2 this upcoming season. The thing that would be different in that case, though, would be that there would not be a competition as there was last year. Obviously, Geno Smith would be your starter right from the jump, and Drew Lock would be signing up to be the backup at that point. And also, if you were to do that, that also means that you don't have to draft a quarterback necessarily. If there's one you like, you still could, but it doesn't put the pressure on you to have to bring in a quarterback this draft. So, with that said, here is what John Schneider had, a little bit of what he had to say of this long conversation he had with KJR in Seattle. In terms of getting it done, it's a process. Hope to get started here real quick. Had a little time here to evaluate our team and get settled in all the exit interviews and everything that goes into what happens when you get done playing. We'll get to it as soon as we can and try to do what's best for Geno and try to do what's best for the organization. Schneider laid out his offseason goals, and I'll be honest, I loved what Schneider had to say about what he wants to do this offseason. Goal number one is getting Geno Smith re-signed, getting him a new contract that keeps him in Seattle as the Seahawks starting quarterback. They want to get a deal done, not just a franchise tag situation. They want to get him a new deal. Then the other goal is building a Super Bowl caliber roster. Look, this was supposed to be a rebuilding year in Seattle in 2022. Instead, they were a playoff team. And so now you've laid the foundation. And you look at this team ahead of schedule, probably, and so trying to position themselves to be a Super Bowl caliber roster, there's no reason why that they should not be able to put a competitive football team out on the field this upcoming season. I think that's exactly what they're going to try to do, of building around Geno Smith to see what they can do to compete next season. And then another goal that Schneider talked about was balancing paying the player versus drop dead number, of figuring out that balancing act of some sorts, which isn't always an easy thing to do. It's kind of easier said than done necessarily, but all good points of what Schneider had going all in this offseason for the future of this franchise. So let's go back to the Geno Smith and Drew Lock situation there. What do you think about the idea of re-signing not just Geno, but Drew Lock as well? We didn't see Drew Lock play this past season, but do you want him to come back with Geno Smith as well to be Geno's backup? Let me know in the comments section. Type Y for yes, type in for no. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in. Y for yes, in for no. Let me know in the comments section below. All right, now let's shift gears and talk about Dan Quinn. You may have heard that the Cowboys defensive coordinator, who was a candidate for numerous jobs this NFL offseason, is returning to the Dallas Cowboys. That was announced on Thursday, but the folks at 12th Man Rising, the Seahawks Fansided site, has named him the most likely successor to Pete Carroll as the Seattle Seahawks head coach. I know what you're thinking. Wait. Is Pete Carroll stepping aside? No, not quite, but something to think about in the future, the idea of bringing Dan Quinn back to Seattle. Let's see what Lee Val had to say. Once Carroll decides to step down, he won't be outright fired. He doesn't deserve to be. He should have a say in who replaces him. Carroll isn't just the head coach currently. He's also the vice president of football operations. So he would continue to have input on how the team is put together. It makes sense to bring in a guy who has head coach experience, but also one Carroll and general manager John Schneider are familiar with. Quinn fits that. Quinn wasn't a failure during his time as a head coach of the Atlanta Falcons either. From 2015 to 2020, Atlanta went to the playoffs twice and the Super Bowl once. It's the Super Bowl loss that probably stings worse. After getting out to a 28-3 lead in the third quarter, the Falcons folded and the Patriots came back and won the game, but Quinn was still a good enough coach to get his team to the Super Bowl in the first place. I'll get to Dan Quinn here in just a second, but let's start on the Pete Carroll situation first. Last offseason would have been an easy time for Pete Carroll to step aside with a change at the quarterback position, with the start of a rebuild, but he didn't. He still wanted to be a part of this franchise and guide them through their next chapter. So with that said, I don't think Pete's going anywhere for a while. As far as Dan Quinn goes, of him replacing Pete Carroll eventually, give me 1 second. I'll collect my thoughts. I want to hear from you first. How many more years will Pete Carroll be the Seahawks head coach? Is it another season? Is it 2? Is it 5? What is it? Let me know in the comment section below how much longer you think Pete Carroll is going to be with the Seattle Seahawks. We will get to Dan Quinn here in just a second, but before we do, Seahawks Today is sponsored by Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. Get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at athleticgreens.com/chatsports. I gave AG1 a try because I want better gut health and wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. I take AG1 every morning, and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. I came into this year wanting to get healthier, and starting my year on AG1 has helped me do just that. I take it every morning, and I feel the best I have ever felt. Covering my nutritional bases for the day literally couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix 1 scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing each morning. Done. I also like that it costs less than $3 a day. Pretty good if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality source ingredients. Win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Check it out. The link is also in the comments and the description of today's video. Now, I'll say this about Dan Quinn. I don't like the way things ended for Dan Quinn in Atlanta. Yes, he did get them to a Super Bowl, but once Kyle Shanahan was out the door and went to the San Francisco 49ers, it wasn't the same ever again for Dan Quinn with the Atlanta Falcons, and things fell apart. They fell apart fast. He, of course, has done a great job with the Dallas Cowboys as their defensive coordinator the last couple of years, and I think when you looked at what the Cowboy defense has become, it has been elite because of what Dan Campbell has done. No one's questioning what he brings to the table as a DC. He was really good when he was in Seattle previously. But that time in Atlanta started out good, but things ended so bad, it makes things a little sus of some sorts, if you want to put it that way, as far as him being a head coach again goes. And you look at what he did as a head coach, the 43-42 overall record there in Atlanta, helped them get to a Super Bowl. I understand all that. 2021 NFL Assistant of the Year. The resume speaks for itself that, yes, Dan Quinn probably should get an opportunity to be a head coach somewhere again. But I think personally, just based on the way things went down after Kyle Shanahan left, Dan's best route might be as a career defensive coordinator. That's not a bad thing. He's making close to $4 million with the Dallas Cowboys right now. He's got a good thing going, and he's stayed there for a reason. He understands how well things are in Dallas. And so you look at Seattle, I think, in all honesty, when that day comes, when Pete Carroll is ready to step aside, there would be other guys I would consider before I would consider Dan Quinn. He's a great DC. I don't know if he's necessarily head coach material. Not every great coordinator makes for a great head coach, and that's okay. That's fine. So tell me this in the comment section before we go. Dan Quinn should not be the next Seattle Seahawks head coach. Do you agree with me on that statement? If you do, type T for true. If you disagree with me on that statement, type F for false. Let me know in the comment section, T for true, F for false. As always, you can act with me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We got our company end of football season holiday party tonight in Choctaw, Oklahoma this evening. I'm going to have a good time. Be wishing me luck. Let's get some big money. Let's get it rolling tonight. I'll see you next time. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us here on Seahawks Today.